Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
Well, hello, and welcome back to the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, and today we are going to begin the very last episode of this series that I call Overcoming Cancer and Other Obstacles. If you're listening for the first time, I would recommend going back to the very first episode, but I've reached a point in my journey where things have gotten a little critical, and I need to focus more on my health. And what I will be doing in the future is offering the rest of this journey to the subscriber only. And the reason why isn't anything other than I believe I've given the tools that I need to solve a problem by the end of this last episode. There's probably going to be 4 or 5 parts to this last episode. And the rest of it is going to be my personal story that will be ongoing. And so if you support this and my journey, then please participate, and I would love to share this with you. Otherwise, I think I've put enough out there. I will be continuing to detail the points that I make. Like I'll be talking more and more about fasting and some of the other practices that I'm doing as standalone items, so that you don't have to be immersed in my cancer journey to get the value from it. I realize that some people are very inspired by this and are finding a lot of great information, and they're helping themselves as I intended, and some people are just put off by it, and that's okay. It's all okay. I'm not here to speak to everybody. I'm really here to speak to the people that are tuned into this frequency. I've learned that you're never going to reach everybody, and frankly, the people that do, I think, are less authentic for the most part. But I will strike a chord in some of you, and if that is true, I encourage you to follow along. There's over 150 episodes in this podcast, and it's truly my journey of looking for health and finding it. So for everybody that has supported this podcast, I'm so very grateful. I wish that I could make it a little more interesting or whatever. Obviously we always want more people to know about it, but I think as the subjects and the guests are expanding, there's a broad enough reach that it's just now more about visibility. And I would ask you, if you think this is a good podcast, or you think it's important, or you think I'm doing good work, or there's value to this, consider sharing it or even saying something about it. Those are the little things that it doesn't cost you anything that make a difference. And what I will offer, if I know how it is, sometimes even $3 a month is a lot to ask for anybody, or don't see the value in it. Well, I tell you what, you help me out and do some sharing, and I can make some of those subscriber episodes available to you if you find that interesting. Meanwhile, I really want to thank the team that has come and developed and supported me, and you know who you are. I'm not going to put names out here. I do mention names sometimes in the subscriber side of things, but you know who you are. You are the people who have come to me privately and said, I'm here to help you, tell me what you need. You listened to the episode I did on how people can help and how people can ask for help, and we're going to get into some of those things later in this episode, the importance of help and what it means and all of that. And frankly, the moral and spiritual support that I have right now is probably the most important thing I have, aside from the knowledge that I've learned on how to behave, how to eat, how to act. So that's really, really important. So for those of you who have supported, and frankly, most of the people who love me the most and have done or would do the most if I needed never hear this show. So it's a little frustrating, and I hate to be an asshole, and that's what ends up happening because everybody still wants me to tell them the story. And it's difficult. You don't have any idea that telling the same story over and over again, how exhausting it is. And I'm going to be talking about this future, but I just finished a 3-day fast, and the last day of that fast was silence. And I realized how much energy I spend talking. And all day long, I'm always talking, and I didn't ever think about what that took from me. And when I was silent for a day, I realized that. So I'm going to be choosing my words a lot more carefully from here on out. And I love talking and I love sharing it, but I'll be recording a lot more of what I say. And when I'm not recording, I'll be doing a lot less talking. So that was a great lesson that I've learned. And I just hope you can understand. If you are a friend or you know a friend who gets a little put off because I won't stop my day and tell them all about everything I'm doing, it's not personal. It's personal for me. I have to take care of me finally for once in my life, and that's what I'm doing. So that's really important. I've learned through this journey that there are 3 kinds of things, and there are truths, and there are facts, and there are feelings. And when it gets down to it, the truth and the facts matter, and feelings, they come and go. And if your feelings get so intense that it can stop you from doing something or make you do something that you wouldn't normally do, then check yourself. That's what a lot of the spiritual work is about, is getting through your feelings about things and how you deal with stresses and traumas and all that. But it all comes down to feelings. So, if you got a feeling some kind of way about this and it's not good, then please go away. I'm not interested in spending any time with you. But if you feel love and harmony and peace and want to be helpful, then please come around, listen, share this, be a part of it. This is all about a community, and this is for you as much as it's for me. I know people are going to get inspiration, understanding, and some truth. I've learned some truths that are just, I'm sorry, I've listened to so many books and read so much information about overcoming cancer, and there's so much bad information out there. Oh my God, terrible information. And there's wrapped up in good information, and there's people who found their way to health, and they did a series of things, but they don't realize that one of the things they did didn't help them, and they espouse these things as they are helpful. And I've learned some things that, oh my God, people are getting wrong information all the time. So again, just like anybody else, I'm going to share what I did to get my health, and that's what my answer was. But the search and how I found it, and the people that I'm relying upon for information, and the way that I weigh information now as opposed to what I did, oh my goodness, it's been humbling, to be sure. I can tell you, if somebody is out there selling their things or speaking with total confidence about everything and sure of themselves about everything, if they're sure about anything except for about themselves, then there is some degree of hypocrisy there. The people that are the true teachers out there are humble, and I know them when I see them, and I'm telling you, I'm learning discernment through this. I'm starting to feel like a judge a little bit because I'm processing so much information and meeting so many people that you can start to recognize patterns. You can start to see when things are full of crap. And just like the rest of life, most things aren't cut and dry. Most people have some good and some bad. Most have good information and bad information. And whether it's knowingly or unknowingly, it's just so important to know that. So here's kind of a snapshot of the current state of things. This cancer has continued to progress besides everything I've done. And I'm very strongly of the opinion that I have prevented my death already. I am confident if I had not done anything, I'd be gone already by a long time. How aggressive this thing is trying to be, and the things it's trying to do in spite of everything I'm doing, it tells me that this indeed was a formidable foe. And when I finally turn it around, there's going to be a big element of will and the spiritual side of things for sure, in addition to everything else I'm doing. So that's what's brought me here. It has not stopped. It's continuing to grow. As much as I know I'm slowing it down, and I'm need to put all my energy into just turning it around. I have gone from a surgeon to a radiation oncologist to a medical oncologist, which is a chemo doctor, to an integrative oncologist who wants to do biological work and create a tailored cure for me, working with Dr. Hoffman with a methionine restricted diet and his enzyme methionase. I'm working with my cousin Nicole on numerous frequency treatments, and she's the one who introduced me to the idea of ozonated glycerin, which I now make and consume, and we'll be talking about that in future parts. All of the rest of this stuff that I'm bringing you up to speed is already been talked about in previous episodes, so I'm not going to rehash any of this. Now we're up against, so they want to do ultimately a protocol that will involve radiation and chemo simultaneously. Due to some dental issues and a lack of funds for me to resolve this, I am trying to come up with another plan with them. And for those of you who said I'd never do radiation and chemo, well, I hope you never get cancer and have to make that decision. I am on the edge of choosing it for a purpose in a particular way, in a particular setting, and I'm trying to cause it to be a minimal treatment if I need it at all. But the reality is, if you want to get something, because I remember when this thing was starting to grow and I had people come to me, get that thing cut out of you. You need to get that thing removed. They don't know a damn thing about a damn thing. Even doctors said that to me, and I'm like, wow, how do you do that? Just walk up to a person who knows how to operate on you and say, hey, will you cut this out of me? No, you don't. You don't know anything about this. And that's one of the things that, this is a story about, how I found my way to these answers and how you can use what I've done and learn from that as well. It's never as cut and dry as you think. And I have gone through and done the cannabis oil treatment. I've done all the things that anybody has ever heard of. I guarantee you, I've either tried it or ruled it out for a good reason. And here I am. So when you're faced with something, I tell people that I know to try this. If you want to know how I am dealing right now, how I feel or what's going on, I say take your thumb and push on the middle of your throat just until you can feel it. Just barely on the inside. And when you can feel that little pressure on the inside, then push just a little bit harder and sit with that for a second. And then push a little bit less than you did the first time, just a little teeny bit. And one of those three feelings is how I feel all the time. And that's a constant reminder. Now, mind you, I've looked at the camera that ran down my throat. I have seen this thing. I've seen the scans. You look at me, I'm a monster. It's funny. We were sitting last night and looking at a picture of me when I was 30 years old or 29 years old. And, I was ripped, I was strong, I was thin, I was healthy. I thought I was healthy. I was eating shit food. I was just super active and, worked through it and young. I was good looking, whatever. I mean, I never had any trouble finding company, and it was always easy when it came to that. That part of my life was easy. I never had to worry. I was confident. I didn't ever worry about how I looked. I never cared. I thought I looked fine. I was never really vain particularly, but I was fine. I was happy with myself. And now I look at myself now with this giant monstrosity sticking out of my neck and trying to push its way out. Literally, I've got a red spot where it's trying to literally break through my skin. Well, that's the other side. How do you feel? Take a part of your skin and stretch it. if you can. Stretch it as hard as you can, and then stretch it harder, and then stretch it even harder until it hurts. And that's how I feel all the time. And it sometimes pushes a little harder. It's not just a tumor, there's inflammation and all the other surrounding issues. And if this thing breaks through, it's a whole nother thing. And I'm trying like hell to keep that from happening. So that's, again, another reason why I got to focus on that rather than yapping all the time. And so basically, in order to get clearance, so put it this way, if you want to get a treatment, but you haven't done all the work and gotten approval and all of these things, well, go ahead, try, unless you got a bunch of money. Now, we're going to talk about money and what that means to this. And unfortunately, it's really effing sad that is such a factor here. But it's true. The people that have resources get to live longer. It's just that simple. And I believe there are things we are learning that we can do that can help people that don't have any money. So the things that I'm learning, really, the things that are doing the most good for me, aside from these, treatments that I could have if I had more money, they don't cost you anything. It's a lifestyle. It's a mindset. And that's what I'm here to show you. If you don't have a nickel to your name and you have a tumor, I think I can still help you turn it around. And I'm confident that anybody, even if you are stage 4, if you're willing to do the hard work, if you're willing to learn about fasting and changing your food ways, your relationship with food and water, and how you treat yourself and others, where your spirit is, and all of these things, what's your purpose in life, and all of this stuff. You don't have to have a bunch of money. You still have a chance and hope. So get that hope no matter what. If you don't have that, you're not going to make it. I don't know how many times I've heard these stories as I'm now in the club and I'm meeting all these people in the club, and you hear about, this person who was told by the doctor that they've got 6 months to live and they die in 4. The people that just have lost hope and they get angry and sad and they stay that way, and they don't change their ways. They die fast, and that's just what happens. But those of us that choose to live and get the fight, and remember, it doesn't matter. You're going to die one day anyways. So whether it's today, tomorrow, 6 months, or 10 or 20 or 100 years from now, what are you doing with your life? How are you living? If you're sad and angst-ridden and angry, what kind of a life is that anyways? But if you're hopeful and inspired and joyous and full of love and get to share your time with some good and wonderful people, hey, you might not ever know. You might not have more than a week or a month or a year. Some rock might fall out of the sky, or, you get hit by a car. Anything could happen. And it's really about, I don't know, there's some country song, I think it's called Live Like You're Dying. And I remember hearing that right during a dear friend of mine's wake that I gave eulogy for. And I heard that song. I was like, wow, that's a good song. Has a good message. So get out there and do some friggin' living, would you? All right, so finally we're getting to where I'm at right now in the state of this. So if I want radiation, or I might want radiation, I have to go through the work to get it approved. I can always say no. There are stories, plenty of stories, where people walked right into the room and they got that sense of, no, I don't need this. And they walked right back out and they never did it. And they continued their cure. There's a book called Chris Cured Cancer that I've read, and I agree with a lot of it. It's a good story. The guy's got the humility and confidence that comes with it, and a beautiful story. And he uses his story to help other people. I know there's people that don't care for that kind of thing, but for me it was inspiring, and I got some good information from it. And part of his story was he went and got surgery, and then he realized when he went into the chemo and they wanted to port him that he didn't want it. And he continued to cure himself. Well, you can do that as long as you have it in place. But if you decide at the last second you need this, good luck unless you got a lot of money and you can just pay for it. So that's why I'm going the route I'm going. I'm making as many opportunities open to me. And as I'm going down this journey, I've been pivoting all the way. My diet has changed. My practices have changed. I've gone from what I thought I knew to what I knew. And what I thought would work for me to what is working for me. So that's really important to be able to pivot. So in order to get radiation clearance, you have to have a dental clearance. And, I'm a guy and, whatever. I'm not a very vain guy, so I'm never going to get veneers on my teeth, and I don't have pearly, shiny whites. I chewed tobacco for 13 years when I was a kid, and I drink black coffee every day, and, I don't have the brightest, whitest teeth. That's not my thing. It'd be nice, but I'm not going to spend extra energy for it. I am who I am. And, as a kid, I don't think I had particularly strong enamel. I grew up in the 70s, and, we ate crap. And I see all these things about, we ate this and that. I did drink hose water, that's for sure. But I know the diet. We did eat fresh food. We had chickens. I had fresh food. We had a vegetable garden. I did eat fresh produce. But you know what? That's when all the crap food came out. That's when all the seed oil stuff and all the margarine and all the processed food began. And we were eating it. We ate plenty of it. Boxes of hamburger helpers and whatever. Who knows what was in this stuff. Excuse me. So my teeth, I had cavities later on, and in the 70s, all the cavities were amalgam. So there was mercury and all that crap that's in there. So I had a mouthful of fillings. Then I had orthodonture work done because my teeth were all effed up. And I was a terrible patient. And then I started chewing tobacco, and I did that for 13 years. That tore my gums up, and they never really healed right. I quit, fortunately, over 30 years ago, never went back, and that was probably part of why this is not caused by that. However, the damage is done. Later on, fillings popped out 20, 30 years ago. You don't realize that these things don't last forever, and then they start popping out, and they get decayed again. Then I had to have some root canals. Well, then they don't tell you that doesn't last forever, and then they start coming out, and there's a little abscess way up in an old root canal. And I've got some dental things that need to be taken care of. And the first dentist I went to, he says, I talked about this already. Anyways, finally, I'm trying to get this dental clearance. I finally went to the periodontist the other day. They looked at my gums, and he's like, well, you need a bunch of work, but I'm not going to hold you back from clearance. And then I got to go see the oral surgeon. That's where I'm at right now, trying to make an appointment with the oral surgeon so I can have the option to begin this. Now, had all this stuff not been in the way, I would have already had the option to choose. They would already had me scheduled to begin this therapy 2 weeks ago. But I can't start it yet because I don't have this clearance and I don't have the money to do some of the things that I want to do. So we're trying to negotiate another possible solution right now, and that's what I'm in the middle of, and I need to put my attention to that. The tumor itself, the progression of this, 2 years ago, I noticed it, a little bump on my neck. I thought it was a swollen gland or some kind of a, lymph node or something, and then it didn't go away. And finally I go to the doctor. The doctor says, oh, you probably don't have cancer, but you should get that taken out. I took that as the best news ever, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to have to worry about this like I thought. And so I didn't. And, it's growing on the inside. It's growing. And the one doctor that was a total asshole, he did tell me something. He says, listen, when these things are small, you don't notice their growth. They can double their size and you don't notice it. As they get bigger, you notice them more, and that's why you see that it's growing. But it didn't change. It's been growing the whole time. The second this thing took off, you can't even see a scan on most of these scans until there's something like 100 billion cells or something. It's ridiculous. So by the time you notice it growing, it's already a monster and out of control. So now this thing is large. It goes from almost the base of my ear all the way down to below my jaw. It starts to wrap around my jaw, and right where they did the biopsy, and they promised me, oh, it's not going to have any negative effect. I'm like, I'm afraid, I don't want this. And no, they never do. Well, right there where they made that incision is where it's grown out the most. And there's a bump a node that's trying to break through my skin right now. And if it does that, it's a different set of rules. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I'm going to go deeper. So this is the end of the first part of the last episode. I can see probably 3 or 4 more pieces of this. So I'll get into my regimen. I'm going to get into the spiritual side of things. I'm going to get into the financial side of things. I'm going to get into food. And then finally, a full overview on the value of the things that I've learned and how they can impact you. There may be more that comes out of that. But here it is. I'm sitting here with my Rife technology while I'm doing this. So I'm receiving a treatment while I'm doing it. I just came off a 3-day fast. I'm working on a number of therapies. I take my ozonated glycerin multiple times daily. Peroxide therapy, all kinds of oxygen stuff. It's all going to be talked about. So once again, I thank you for your support. And, if you're interested in supporting the show, you can access subscriber-only episodes. If you want to support the show or you want to support what I'm doing, just tell somebody about this. Share this link. Put a note in there. Send a note to me. That lets me know, without getting feedback, it's hard to say, am I on the right path? And then this show becomes, my expression and my vision. But it can be more as long as I get more feedback. So thank you for everybody that has actually chosen to help. And if you haven't, maybe consider helping me or somebody else, or maybe even helping yourself. All right. Well, you have a great day, and thank you for all your support. We'll see you next time.
This has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. We produce this show so that people can share their stories, people that have overcome obstacles, people that are undergoing obstacles. We're building a community of health-minded individuals. If you're interested in supporting the show, please leave a review on the platform you're listening to it on. If you're interested in becoming a guest, please send an email to itsjoegrumbine@gmail.com, or you can send a note into the notes section of the podcast. All right. Well, thank you for supporting this show, and we hope you've enjoyed it.